So welcome everyone to this session of the Sangha Live daily meditations together. Lovely as always to be with you on this here very lovely morning. Blue skies with dotted clouds in Bridport, southwest England. And very beautiful to come into the space and to see the chat messages, connecting and wishing well to each other and to all beings, very much in the spirit of this week's explorations. And so as we tune in together, as we come into the space, arrive, settle, tuning into that intention, whether it's nearly midnight for you, whether it's afternoon, you might be in the Americas, you might be in Australia. We have people here from all these places. You may be in Europe, slightly more civilized time perhaps for some of us. Just having a sense of being welcomed into the space and welcoming yourself to be here. Welcoming all of us and tuning into that intention that we have for being here, and perhaps for our lives, for many of us, that intention for well-being. So we will continue today with the same format for our session, some Dharma reflections on the theme, followed by a practice, and then some time for discussion together via Q&A. 7 a.m. doesn't feel civilized. It's interesting. I've got to say, I really like these Sangha Live sessions because it means I get up really early. I get up. I'm getting up at 5 at the moment so that I have time for my practice before teaching. And it's actually a really good rhythm for me, but recognizing it's not a good rhythm for everyone. We're different. Our bodies are different. So for me, going to bed early, getting up early, really good for my body. So it's great. And bringing kindness to your experience if that is not your experience, or if you haven't got the privilege like me of being able to go to bed at 9 o'clock. So it's not possible for everyone. Couldn't resist. So we'll have all of that time together, and hopefully a smooth ride today. Yesterday we had a bumpy ride, but as we saw, and good to say this now, if we do get disconnected, just stay tuned with the Daily Meditations homepage, and a new link will appear. That's what happened yesterday, and we can get together again, despite the challenges, and have a sense of this community working together, and also that it's actually always there. It's also something to connect to, even when the tech maybe lets us down personally or together. We're actually all still there, and we can connect to that in our awareness. So we've been exploring this week the attitude of metta, M-E-T-T-A, kindness, friendliness in attention, and we've been bringing it initially both to where it's relatively easy, where it's natural, accessible for us, and we've also been exploring to bring it to places where it doesn't naturally go, such as neutral beings, which is what we did yesterday in the practice, beings that we don't feel particularly friendly or unfriendly towards, and therefore we usually don't notice them. It reminds me of Christina Feldman, a very senior teacher in our tradition, who one year decided that her practice for that year would be to make all neutral beings in her experience disappear. No more neutral beings, which means an attitude of friendliness towards everyone. And that was kind of how she phrased it. So we've been exploring that, also bringing metta to ourselves, which is also for many of us not where it naturally goes. And it can be worth reflecting on why do this? Yeah, why is this valuable? Why is this worth putting our energies to developing? And so, one reason is that it's a good workout. Yeah. It's a good workout for our heart and mind, particularly for developing those metta muscles. Yeah. When we stretch them beyond where they naturally go. So kind of we work at our kind of comfort zone and we build up, and then we start working at our edges very gradually, as came up in the questions and responses yesterday. Yeah, we're not trying to push and go too far. We're gently working at our edges some of the time. Yeah. So it's a helpful workout for our metta muscles. It also has a really interesting impact, which is worth thinking about, reflecting on a little bit. When there's more metta in attention and awareness, there's more well-being. And you've been seeing this. Yeah, people have been reflecting how practicing metta has shifted their experience from, say, getting up feeling grumpy to feeling quite nice at the end of the practice. And so, of course, this will have a range, doesn't always work for all of us all of the time. Yeah, always these caveats. Need to remember it's not something wrong with you or how you're practicing. It's all conditioned, so it's not constant. But we're interested in that impact. More metta, more well-being. Yeah? And so the sense of we're shaping our experience as we develop this practice, cultivate this intention, shaping our experience and shaping the world towards friendliness and towards more well-being for all. Yeah. Towards more well-being for all. So we're meeting experience with kindness and care. And we are, as we do that, we're nourishing our present well-being and the future well-being as well. Because we're cultivating habits of heart and mind that bring more well-being, getting that metta muscle stronger. Yeah, gym. So, how does this happen? Why does this happen? Why does metta bring more well-being? Yeah, let's pause with that a little bit to understand what is actually happening there. It's actually happening there. So when we meet our own experience, when we meet ourselves, when we meet another with that attitude of friendliness or even just the intention of kindness, what actually happens? Yeah? And it's worth reflecting what happens when metta is present. There's a lot more spaciousness, which means there's less contraction. Yeah, more spaciousness, less contraction. There's a lot more kind of open-handedness in our attitude. So we're less pushing and pulling, demanding from experience, clinging and craving and saying, you go away and you, more of you. Yeah, there's less demand. There's a reduction in the reactivity. And all of this means there's less dukkha and more well-being. There's less ill-being, there's less stress, and there's more well-being. So when there's reactivity, when there's this push and pull on experience, there is more ill-being, there is more stress and distress, there is more dukkha in Pali. It arises with the clinging, with the demand, with the push and pull, and with contractedness and limitation. We want to get to know that in our own experience. If we dial any of these down, less demand, less reactivity, less push-pull, less contraction, they all go down, and the degree of dukkha goes down. This is a really, really key insight for us. Key insight. And so when we practice metta, remember what I said, more spaciousness, less contraction, also less picking and choosing. I want this, I don't want this, I like this, I don't. I'm friendly to this, but not to that. Less dukkha, releasing dukkha. And that release of the dukkha, that release of the push-pull and the demand in itself brings well-being. Very sweet relief that we become sensitive to in our practice. And again, as we do that, we're releasing present dukkha, and we're also making ourselves prone to less dukkha in the future. Yeah, also interesting. Yeah, because that capacity to recognize the contraction, to open to spaciousness, to recognize the reactivity, and to open the palm, to receive with kindness, to receive with friendliness, with non-judgment. All of that, we're cultivating that skill, we're making it more accessible and more intuitive for us. So we're both lessening the dukkha, the ill-being, the contraction in the present, the reactivity, and making ourselves more resilient in the long run as well. So that's the sales pitch for the practice, and hopefully we're getting a taste of it already, and this helps to understand what is actually going on, and that understanding can be something we then look at our experience through. What's happening with the contraction? What's happening with the sense of spaciousness? How much demand is that here? And can I just drop it even a little bit? And the beautiful thing about our practice is that we see, it's all in spectrums and ranges. So we don't have to go from, complete distress to absolute bliss. Yeah. If we shift the dial a little bit, yeah, that's huge, hugely significant for ourselves and for others. And then a little bit more. Yeah. Or, the next day or the next week or the next year, we move more along that dial. But we are cultivating, strengthening those muscles, cultivating those skills and those wholesome habits, wholesome ways of relating of the heart and mind. Yes. So hopefully that already makes sense on some level, and will make even more sense once we practice together. So let's find our posture. You may already be in your posture, or you may need to find it for this period of practice. In either case, just taking these first moments of the practice to check in with the body, check in with the posture, so that we can make any adjustments that are needed. Allow the body to be as supported, as stable, as balanced and steady as possible. We can check in with a balance of uprightness and ease if we're standing or sitting. Check in with the alignment of the spine if we're reclining. Spine is supported and aligned straight as much as possible. Really inviting the awareness into the body. letting the awareness flow deep into the body. And it can be helpful to bring the attention to the sensations of contact between the body and that which supports the body, the seat, the ground, the mat. Letting the awareness, inviting it to gather, to ground, to root in those sensations of contact. Simple sensations, but very present. Easy to feel for many of us. And from that immediacy of the contact sensations, the groundedness and rootedness of awareness with these sensations, we're going to invite the awareness to soften and open through the body, as if it's growing out from that contact, opening out. Letting the awareness expand and soften through the whole body and fill the whole body. We get a sense of the whole body sitting here, or lying here, or standing here. Whole body here. Filled with awareness. Sometimes it can be helpful to imagine the space of awareness slightly larger than the body. But only if this is easy for you and helpful, not necessary. So awareness expanded through the whole space of the body. Remembering our intention of friendliness and kindness and interest with experience. Letting the awareness be wide and soft and open. Finding that frequency of attention within awareness that's got that friendly, kind, welcoming flavor. And opening within that space of awareness and of experience to notice if there's anything in our direct experience right now that feels to some degree nice or pleasant. Maybe somewhere in the body, maybe that's just that softness and openness through the body, might be the groundedness of the contact sensations, might be a particular part of the body that feels nice, the hands or the face. You're used to working with an anchor of attention like the breath or sound, maybe some aspect of the breathing, like just the flow, the fluidity of it. Or the ease in the out breath. Or if you're working with sound and hearing, the spaciousness of listening, of receiving sound, or the pleasantness of particular sounds as they arise or as they pass away. So without making this too much of a project, looking for something, but opening the awareness to notice anything that is on that range of nice, pleasant, peaceful, in our direct experience. And we're going to gently, keeping the awareness wide, bring our attention to that aspect of experience right now. It might be as simple as just the flow of the breathing through the body or the sounds through awareness. The actual movement feels nice. Turn our attention to that and welcome it, receive it in kindness. Now it's going to be our practice. Noticing whether it's helpful to just have that sense and awareness of the welcoming, the kindness, the friendliness, or if it's helpful to use phrases or images, like a sense of opening the door to something, that image, you're welcome. And similarly with the phrases, may you be welcomed, may you be at peace or allowed. So let's practice here in silence with this. Receiving in kindness and friendliness, the pleasant aspect of experience, a pleasant aspect. And staying with the same one phenomena for as long as it stays and remains pleasant. If it disappears or if pleasantness changes, disappears, then finding somewhere else something else. And that'll be our practice. Let's see what happens. Gently, kindly, noticing what's unfolding in experience right now. And if we can, as much as possible, let go of judgment. Bring kindness to this meeting. Maybe that is fairly easy for us to maintain friendly, kind attention with a pleasant. It may be that we're distracted. How do we meet that? So we're going to let go of this pleasant or nice anchor of attention and check in with the space of awareness, that it's soft, open through the whole space of the body. And we'll bring interest to find anywhere in the body, in the breath, or in the sounds that feels neither pleasant or unpleasant. It often goes under the radar of our attention. Not enough in it to generate aversion or greed. So we just don't notice it. Now we're intentionally bringing attention. Often the body's a good place for this because there'll be areas which simply don't register, like the elbows or the earlobes or the chin, little finger, or one of the hands or the little toes. Similarly, with the soundscape, there may be sounds that are not pleasant or unpleasant. So opening the attention, the awareness to notice anything like this, and then to receive that phenomena, that aspect of experience with metta, with a welcoming, kind, friendly attitude. So using the images that have worked for you, or the phrases, or just the felt sense of welcoming. Let's try this out. Turning to the uneventful with a sense of welcoming, receptivity. We notice that the attention slips away more easily with the neutral or uneventful. That's okay, we just bring it back. That sense of kindness. Back to the welcoming, back to the receiving. These sensations or the sounds. And noticing what's unfolding. Receiving that with kindness. Perhaps that which was neutral is now pleasant. Perhaps some well-being is arising from the practice. Perhaps the mind is still distracted or restless or sleepy. And we can receive that with kindness as well. We're going to let go of the uneventful, the neutral aspect of experience that we've been anchoring our attention with. Check in that awareness is still relatively soft, open, spacious. Maybe reaffirming that opening of awareness through the whole body. We'll bring our attention now, open the attention to something that feels very mildly unpleasant. Maybe a stiffness somewhere, or a tickle, or an itch. Maybe a sound that isn't particularly pleasant in the environment. Just going to bring our awareness, our attention within that wide open space to what is perceived as mildly unpleasant. And see what ways is it possible to receive this with kindness and friendliness? That's the exploration. And sometimes we need more support here. So maybe using the phrases or the images more. Or having a sense of bathing that part of the body in kindness. Cocooning it. Holding it in friendliness. Allowing it. Let's explore this. So letting go of this also, letting go of the attention with the mildly unpleasant, and just for a minute or so, we're going to emphasize just this bathing of the whole body and awareness in kindness and friendliness, in well-wishing, feeling or imagining the metta intention like a warm light or a golden awareness, just bathing whole body, heart and mind, holding whole range of your experience and your being in kindness, allowing ourselves to rest into that, bathing, radiating energy to be nourished. And when the bell rings, continuing, even as you may change posture, open the eyes, seeing if we can still feel that energy of metta, the attitude and intention of metta, bathing, supporting, nourishing. So taking your time with the transition, no rush. Before we open to questions, just some reflections on dana. As we know, these sessions are offered in that spirit, really offered in order to support all of us, support the well-being of all. And yet there's many costs, of Sangha Live for making these available for the platform, the salaries of the team, and for myself, just livelihood costs. Some of you know I teach full-time and only on dana. This is my livelihood. And so seeing if we can practice dana and notice what happens around contraction and spaciousness, just actually feel that movement of dana as a movement that opens up, eases, relaxes the sense of contractedness, and is an act of kindness and support in the world for what matters, what is valuable. So just posted the dana link there in the chat, and of course it's also on the homepage of the daily meditations. But yeah, seeing if we can give joyfully and easefully as much as is possible for us. Yeah. As much as is possible for us, including if it's not possible for you, equally welcome here. That's the beauty of doing things in this way. And whatever you give this week will be divided between Sangha Live and myself. So let's see if there are any questions or reflections from any of you. If you have a question or reflection, if you can just put it into the chat and start it off with the word question in capitals, that allows me to notice it more easily. And then I'll read it out loud and respond. So let's see what arises. we can keep bathing our experience with metta as we do that. Sometimes waiting is a time when we really zone out and get restless. Uh, we really like to emphasize in our own practice the sense of the waiting around meditation or the standing around meditation. Might be waiting for the kettle to boil, or we might be waiting for someone to pick up the phone when we are ringing them, or might be waiting for something to begin. Yeah, we've had that this morning, and all of these are opportunities. Yeah, they're little blocks of time that are there, and that most of us don't utilize. Yeah, we tend to just want the time to pass and for that thing to happen. Yeah, and so can we meet that with kindness, soften, open, and have a sense of kindness towards that experience and see how it impacts. Yeah, so the first question, how do I practice metta towards people I don't like? Yeah, really important question. We had something similar yesterday about even people that are acting in harmful ways. And this is, first of all, noticing. One thing I'll say that I didn't say yesterday is noticing that there's that intention, that we even have that wish to bring metta towards people that we don't like. Even have that intention, that wish, that's already huge. Yeah? It points to some power in us, and some wisdom that is there. It is helpful, just like we did now with the unpleasant sensations, to start with the mild. So two things. One is we're building the metta practice gradually. And this week we're probably going, in more directions and more quickly than ideally we would, because there's people here with lots of different ranges of experience. Some of you may be very, very familiar with metta practice and have done a lot of it. For some, it may be really new. And so we're kind of doing it in, something slightly different every day so that we build the capacity. So if there's that wish, first thing is get the metta going with what is easy. We've been doing that generally over the days. We get it going with what is easy, as much as possible. The easy relationship, really helpful for that. For some of us, the pleasant areas in the body we're doing today. We get it going, so it's built up. It's like a fire, that's been built up. When a fire is built up, we can bring to it things that are not going to catch fire as easily, but because the fire is already strong, they will. Yeah, so that's when we bring, say, the fire building image. We get it going with the kindling. We slowly put more dry wood on it. When it's really going, we can bring the really big pieces and even some, soggy bits, and it will catch. So we build up the metta first of all with the easy, and we gradually expand. We notice that the metta intention that we already have. We really work with that relaxing and softening of the space of awareness. And we start with the difficult or with the challenging relationships where they're relatively mild. So either with the relationship to the body, like we did. For some of us, this is not going to be easy if you have a lot of chronic pain, but for some of us it will be. And or with people that you care about, that you love, and areas of difficulty in the relationship. So that can be a particular situation or a time in the relationship where there's friction, and it can be that it's just something that annoys me that I really love and care about at the same time. So we start building, that image that I used, strengthening the metta muscles. Can be really helpful, building up the muscles so we can pick up heavier and heavier weights. Remembering this is a process. Remembering this is a process, and being skillful about coming back to what is easy and to self-metta, if that's available for us, if we can do that, and it'd be worth practicing with that for a while when that's needed as well, so that we kind of have a good balance there. And then slowly over time, and I'm saying this from my own experience, the difficult relationships become such a powerful place to bring metta, so powerful and so empowering. Yeah. that we can actually have that sense of non-enmity towards someone. And that's the other thing to remember. Sorry, it's a long response, but it's a very important question. Is that it doesn't mean, when we say bring metta, it doesn't mean that I feel, a stronger love for somebody or that I condone their actions. They may be acting in hurtful ways. And so having that sense of just the letting go of the ill will towards that person and then wishing them well, because I also realize if they're happy, they will act in much less harmful ways. So all of that, big question, something to explore. Keep the question alive. Okay, so here's another question. The unpleasant sensation was for me the jarring effect on me of some of the teacher's words. For instance, the word phenomena is singular. I immediately go to judgment of the speaker, and this is swiftly followed by much more severe judgment of myself. Letting go all this is a struggle for me. Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Just that honest self-reflection. Yeah, there's a jarring, someone says something, it's not, it kind of impacts us. Yeah, and even in this kind of fairly neutral way, that's not correct use of the language, and that has an impact. And then the judgment arises, and then that judgment is painful, and then we bring self-judgment, which is it's very difficult. We can see the build up here of a whole web of entanglement. And so, so one thing here might be to tune into compassion more than to metta. Yeah, that can sometimes be helpful, that differentiation of holding that in compassion, holding that ourself, another, in compassion. Yeah. Just having that sense. Another is simplifying. Yeah, we see that we're getting entangled. Sometimes if it's getting too much, simplify. Turn down the volume on your computer, or just go back to breathing and stop following the instructions. Yeah, kind of disengage the mind from the stimulation that at that moment the building up of dukkha is kind of building around. So sometimes, we have to be skillful about the contact where we have agency, where we have possibility to just let go of the contact. And then whenever possible, meeting, you see this build-up happens, we don't notice the whole process and we find ourselves entangled. If we can bring a sense of compassion to ourselves, what's the appropriate response? What will allow me to step out of this entanglement? Yeah. What will allow me to step out of this entanglement? And so seeing what's possible there, I hope that gives some sense, but definitely now compassion for yourself, a sense of your good intentions, of the fact that you don't want to feel judgment, not towards another, not towards yourself, really important. This is a good example of working with a challenge. Yeah, the challenging, whether it's another person who we don't necessarily have difficulty with, but they've done something, said something that's challenging for us, or challenging aspects of ourselves, having that intention. We've reached 8 o'clock. There's one more question. I will stay and respond to it. But before I do that, I just want to allow those who need to leave to kind of bring this to a close, and for you to be able to leave not with a sense of sneaking off, but actually, with respecting the time frame. So thank you all for being here, and go well. I hope their practice is interesting and fruitful today, and we'll be here tomorrow for the last session of the week. And if you wish to stay and hear the last question, you're very welcome. Isn't practicing metta towards people we don't like also supporting well-being to ourselves and others, offering more peaceful perspectives? Yes, absolutely. And I think that's what Rivka and Lois were meaning there. I'm not sure exactly. There was comments that I didn't have questions, so I didn't read them, but sadly accepting the uneasiness that it doesn't help me now. I'm not sure if that's about the practice in general or around it doesn't help to hold Yeah, the sense of challenge. Doesn't help us to hold the sense of animosity, the non-meta towards another. And so that can be a really skillful way and can be really helpful. Of course, like all these helpful things, it has the other side of the coin, the double-edged sword. Careful not to make this so much pressure on yourself that it's not going to work. Yeah. So yes, but we do have that wisdom that when our heart is more full of metta, there's more well-being available than when we hold on to animosity. And yet we need to find our way with that. We need to find the balance and the boundaries, skillful responses. All of that comes in to the process. So hopefully this has been helpful for you, as well, the practice as well as the questions and the responses. Thank you everyone also for the questions, the listening, and the practice, and go well.